What do you think? Huh? What do you think? Huh? Welcome back. It's so hot down here. I got 11 minutes before my cookies come out of the oven. My name's Alex. I make music as Arcade Island. I just put out an album. It's called Dreaming in the Void. Go listen to it now. Or if you've already listened to it, you can stay. But if you haven't, go listen to it. Or don't. I don't know. This is a series that I'm doing where I'm going through every song on the album and I'm going to describe the process by which it was made. I'm going to go into the production. I'm going to go into all my little tricks. Maybe there's a bit of a story. Who knows? Last week was gore! But today I'm going to talk about running from shadows. I'd be lying to you if I said I never sat down and said, I want to make an XYZ song. Whether I do it consciously or unconsciously, I sit down at a piano or guitar and I try to make a song that sounds like a particular song or a particular artist. And about 4 or 5 years ago, one of my favorite albums to come out in the year 2020, there wasn't much else going on that year, was The Weeknd's After Hours. I love that record. It's my favorite Weeknd record. I really liked the dark synth pop, hooky, atmospheric vibe that Mr. Abel Tesfaye cooked up on that record. I was listening to it a lot and I kind of wanted to make a Weeknd song and I was just messing around and this thing came out. Insert now. Ignore my gibberish lyrics. Honestly. Just please. It's
not enough to say you don't have all the answers, but you make them go. Fire exploding in my heart place.
Sometimes when you sit down and you write a song that you want to write, or like, I want to make a song that sounds like this artist, you just feel like you're copying somebody. And so I set it aside and I was like, whatever. And then when I was making this record, I really liked the hooks on it. I liked the vibe. I liked the atmosphere. But this record isn't a dark synth pop record. It's a more heavier rock influenced record, even though not every song is a heavy rock song. So I was like, well, why convert it into a rock song? And gosh darn it, that's what I did. And let's get into it. 6 minutes till my cookies. So let's just start with the first thing that you hear, and that is this dude. And it's just a quick little arpeggio that I just soaked in reverb on this track. This is the original recording for it. And then what I did is I took this hall reverb and I set the mix to 100%. Most effects have a mix knob in there somewhere. And that mix, as you might imagine, refers to how much of the signal you're getting. It's sometimes referred to as wet versus dry. The dry signal is what you actually recorded, and the wet signal is the output of the plugin or the effect or whatever it is. So if you set it to 0, you don't hear the effect at all. If you set it to 100, you're only hearing what's coming out of the effect. So you're just hearing that. And it just rings out really long and you get this super spacey atmospheric thing. And then I did a second one that is the exact same notes, but I did it internally on my Korg Mini Log with a really long delay set on it. And it came out with this really warbly textured patch. And then at the end of it, I just adjusted the delay time and you get this transition. And then coming in underneath that, all spooky like, is this synth bass. And so that's really like the lower end of it. I have this other MIDI bass in here that's a little bit brighter and has a little bit less low end. And I really liked the attack on it. I cut out pretty much all the low end and really gave it some sharp attack. Blend that with the other synth bass and you get this. And that just makes it a little bit more aggressive. I took the tail end of that ambient decay from that reverb and I just looped it here during this part. Just for a little bit of a droney effect. Oh shit, my cookies! Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I got 9 minutes and 38 seconds till the next batch comes out. These drums here were really hard guys. They're hard to play. There's a tricky groove to kind of nail, especially the cymbal, like the 16th notes on the hi-hat were really tough to stay in time. I probably did this one a million times. You can see some chops in here that I really had to just splice things together to make it work. On this one, I actually dampened the snare drum. I do this in a few other ones. I think it just sounds a little punchier. I placed just a dampening ring on the snare drum, and it just kind of kills a little bit more of the overtones and the decay on it. These are all going to a drum bus, similar to pretty much most of the songs. On this one, I'm sending the snare to another send here called the snare crack, which is basically just a slap delay set left and right. And it just helps the snare stand out a little bit more. So you can hear it with, without. It gives it a little bit more of a stereo image. This is a patch off of my Korg mini log. It's just kind of a sine wave patch with a lot of noise on it. And then there's some just minor percussion elements that I originally was going to re-record. But I don't know, sometimes you listen to a song a million times, it sounds weird when you add anything else in here. So it's just these djembe midis and then this like shriek sound effect. This is what it really was for a while. But I'm a sucker for melody. Melody is just such an important part of music to me, and I'm almost allergic to writing a song that doesn't have hooks in it. I think I'm always making pop music, no matter how I might dress it up or how artsy-fartsy I get with it. I'm still just making accessible, hooky melodies and pretty standard time signatures that hold John. So I copped the vocal melody from the verses and just played it on guitar. That's with a rotor effect on there. This is just a simulation of like an old rotary cabinet that they would use back in the day, like in the 70s, like the Beatles used these all the time. You have a microphone spinning around in a cabinet, and that's how you get that effect. Sort of a watery, it's similar to like a chorus effect, but not quite the same. And then as we get into the first verse, everything kind of drops out, except for my voice and that synth.
In the night, I drive, but my eyes are growing heavy and I'm pulling to the right. Time of death, 2:35.
Then in the second bar of the verse, the drums come in as well as and then I start to double the vocals as well.
In the deep, and I, circling beneath me, closing in to strike, will I drown?
I have the verse vocals going to this bus over here. I have a ton of different delays. I'm just cranking the delay on those goodbyes.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
And this is a production trick that I think I used on almost every song so far. Leviathan, kind of on Savannah Moon, and did I use it on Gore? I don't think I used it on Gore. I actually don't remember. But yeah, I took the delay from one of these goodbyes. I copied it over to another track, set a super long delay to it, and then I bounced that as an audio file on another track. And then I can manipulate it and add more saturation, distortion, and chorus, and increase the volume on it, automate the volume on it, and you get this effect. Oh, my cookies are the second batch is ready. Okay, I'm back. They came out great. Sorry you can't eat any. Okay, so now as we build into the chorus, there's a few little elements here besides what I just talked about with that delay. First and foremost, we have this synth melody here, which is like these sort of descending chimes, and the magic of having synthesizers that can interface with the computer. I can send MIDI data out of the DAW into the synthesizer, which then plays the synthesizer, and then the signal that comes out of the synthesizer, I can then record, which is a bit of a loop. But the great thing about that is that if the computer is playing, and therefore you're getting the exact same performance every time you send that out there, it opens up some possibilities in terms of like recording and production. So I recorded this twice. It's the exact same performance, but because it's an analog synthesizer, if you record it twice and then send it left and right, you can get a cool stereo image out of it. And you'll see later on in a song like Hemophilia, you can actually play multiple patches on different passes to blend different sounds together to get things that you never heard before. The ambience from the beginning, I have the same effect here that kind of just adds a little tension. And I have some more noise effects out of my Korg MIDI log, similar to what I did on Gore. And all those effects just help bring us into the chorus. The chorus is pretty bare at first. You have those chimes are playing throughout. Then I bring in real bass here. And then my vocals with a ton of delay on them.
Words won't bring me any comfort. 1 foot always in the grave.
And then the drums come in. And then as we go into the second verse, I drop out the pad, and then we're doing real bass and guitar. And then on the guitar, I'm actually playing 2 different things, one on each channel, left and right. So on the left channel, I'm playing this. And then on the right channel, I'm playing this. Double tracked vocals.
With a gun in hand, there was something that he wanted.
Korg pad to bring us into the second chorus again. You know, I have these 2 clean-ish guitars playing. I'm playing these chords on the left. And the one on the right is playing this melody. And then I just have a rotor effect on here to make it sound a little watery. And we put them together. Me likey. It's, I don't know, it has an urgent feel to it. And then we just have some effects here to help us bring us into the bridge. So we have this effect that I, again, did on my Korg. Can't barely even hear it. You have this ambient pad again. And then I have this little lick here with some tremolo on it. And the synth bass, I dropped out the MIDI version of it. It's just the analog bass. We have this little vocal swell.
If I knew you'd be there.
That's like a bread and butter thing. Like if you're producing music and you don't know how to do a vocal swell, like what are you doing? It's a classic. It's so easy to do. All you do is you take that first phrase or the first word of the lyric or instrument that whatever that you're trying to transition into or swell into, you bounce that to a separate track, then you'll reverse the audio. So you'll take that audio clip that you've bounced and you just hit reverse audio as in reverse. Then you apply as an insert, and an insert is an effect that you place directly in that track. So like one of these. And conversely, a send would be something down here. So you're send the signal somewhere else, and then the reverb or delay or other effect would be managed in a bus somewhere else. But anyway, you would put the reverb on that track, and then you would bounce again. You would bounce that track again with that reverb or delay attached to it. And then you re-reverse it on another track. And then what happens is then that reverb that you've placed on a reversed signal, when reversed, again, I'm saying reverse a lot, it creates that very classic effect. If you've listened to a pop song, pretty much ever, especially in like the past 20 years with digital audio editing, you've heard this effect. And then we have 3 pads coming off of my Korg mini log. And yeah, just like I mentioned earlier, I guess I did on this song, I have these chords played here. And then that signal was fed into the synth, and then it played them back. And then it just recorded on 3 different pad patches, and you can get an interesting effect. So here's one. Very, very kind of 80s saw wave pad. And this guy. Very similar, but a lot more warble to it, a little bit more modulation on the pitch and some noise to it. And then this guy. More of a sine wave pad. It sounds almost like bells or something like that. When you put them all together, they're all going to this bus, which is creatively entitled Bus 1. And that's where you put saturation on all 3 of them, equalization, some bus compression, as well as these delay and reverb effects. And that helps glue them all together. It makes it feel like it's one sound. Yeah, and then my vocals here, I really like the vocals on this one. I really sang this well, I feel like.
If I knew you'd be there in the morning, if I had any hope for play.
And I'm just using the same track as the verses. I don't know, whatever. And we have these clean guitars with some delay on them doing this little melody. There's that little sound effect there. I set the master control unit on the Korg mini log to the BPM of the song, and then I created a delay out of a noise patch, and then I just kind of chopped it up and added some volume. I manually did that, and it just gives it a little bit more movement, a little bit more thrust into the final chorus, which hits like this. So bring in some of those heavier guitars, left and right, just like I've mentioned on other songs, one recorded via amp, simultaneously recorded DI, and you get this. And I have the tone selector in the guitar set to the muted setting. You have this drone from the pad once again. And then this little swell that I created on, again, for the 10th time on my Korg mini log. Really, I can't recommend that synthesizer enough. If you're someone who's interested in synthesizers and synthesis, that thing is a beast. And it's really not that expensive. I don't know what it is now with everything else going on. There's probably a tariff on it. You know, I think when I got this 4 or 5 years ago, that thing was $500. It's such a fun synth to learn synthesis on. You can get a wide variety of sounds. It's an analog synthesizer, so there's tons of character. You know, every time you play it, it's going to sound a little bit different. There's a built-in effects rack, so it's a great place to do sound design like this and get really bizarre stuff every single time you pull it out of the box. So if you're someone who's really interested in getting a hardware synthesizer, I cannot recommend that enough. This is not a promotion. Just saying, I really like that one. And then just my vocals here, double-tracked vocals for the lead.
Words won't bring me any comfort.
With a harmony underneath it.
Words won't bring me any comfort.
And then you put them together.
Words won't bring me any comfort.
It feels like a song you might listen to driving around at night. The sound design on this one was fun, like I mentioned, on my synthesizers. And you know, I'm very happy with the way that this one turns out. And so it's one of my favorites on the record. I'm probably going to say that about every song. Listen to my album, please. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.